Today I want to introduce to you a very amazing and inspirational guy who happened to be born without arms or legs. The funny thing is that you wouldn't know it by hanging out with him. Chris is a man who challenges what some people consider to be the norm for a disabled person. But I think it's best if I allow Chris to speak for himself. So we're going to start first with a video.
Here's the latest original short from filmmaker John Chester over at Apricot Lane Farms.
Everyone knows that farming requires hard physical labor, especially in the summer. Fortunately, we get a lot of friends who offer to come and help us out, but none have been as memorable as Chris. While most are new at farming, Chris has been farming his entire life, but he has a few limitations.
Things that I can't do. I can't drive legally. I can't operate a chainsaw, mind you, I've never really tried. I can't weed whip or weed whack. I cannot swim to save my life. You drop a bowling ball and me in the water at the same time, I will beat the bowling ball to the bottom 9 times out of 9. I was gonna say 9 times out of 10, but no, it's 100%. It takes me upwards of 400% more energy to do everyday tasks than somebody with arms and legs. I'm hopping on one leg. It's a good little workout.
So what can a farmer with no legs and no arms do?
When I tell people that I'm a farmer, I'm pretty sure people are like, yeah, right.
They were my ideas of what Chris could safely do to help out. And then there were his.
So how do you brake?
Go to the shop, get a chunk of 2x4 about 3 feet long, cut a groove in it, and I'd be driving this thing in about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm sure in the back of your mind, you're probably wondering, well, how does he do it? And how competently can he do it? When I was born, my grandma actually set the tone right at a very early stage. Perfect. My uncle phoned my grandma and grandpa to let them know that my mom and dad had a baby boy, healthy, but not everything was there. And my grandma didn't even hesitate for a second. She said, well, Bruce, my dad, never did finish anything he started. I grew up riding around on the tractors, the combines, and I'd say when I was about 9 or 10, I wanted to start driving them on my own, and I've been basically doing it ever since.
One might assume Chris's parents had a hand in developing his extraordinary independence, but not in the way that you might think.
Talking to my dad, I asked him, what did you do differently with me than you would have any other kid? And he said, nothing. So my independence is almost endless now because of their approach.
There was very little he couldn't do.
I remember as a kid being sent down to the office because I wouldn't wear my prosthetic arms at school. They weren't really for me. I don't think I even realized I was missing arms and legs.
He's not only overcome the many physical challenges of his life, but he's gracefully navigated the most awkward moments.
I was handing out Halloween candy one year, and kids are like, oh, awesome costume. I'm like, I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt. It's not a costume, this is me. Come back here on the 1st of November, I'll be wearing the same thing. Some people are ashamed of their freckles. Some people are ashamed of that spare tire around their waist. They have big ears or a big nose or whatever. I think if you're worried about how you look, you're cheating yourself out of opportunities.
Chris's powerful courage is fueled by the acceptance that he has for himself. Imagine if in our own lives we could all do the same.
How's everybody doing this morning? Very good. I want to, first of all, start off by thanking Akshay and Google for making it all possible for me to come here today. I also want to thank you guys for stopping by, as well as everybody that's watching this streaming from their desks here at Google. My name is Chris Koch. I'm from Canada, so I'll probably say things like about and house, talk a lot about hockey, and say sorry a lot. Like I said, I am from Canada, and as you can see, born without arms and legs. There's no real known reason as to why I was born like this. And a lot of people will make the assumption, or they'll ask the question, it must have been difficult growing up like that. It was actually quite easy. And two things. One was a good sense of humor that my grandma had right from day one, as you saw in that video, accusing my dad of never finishing anything he started. And that really set the stage right from day one. It wasn't going to be, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Our grandson or my son, my nephew, whatever, has no arms and legs. This is horrible. It was going to be, you know what? We're going to just take this all in stride. We're going to laugh it off. And to this day, I still make light of it. I joke around about it. When I call and make a reservation at a restaurant, I call in and make a reservation for 5.5. My girlfriend always jokes around about how I may not necessarily be her better half. It's maybe more like a third, quarter. I don't know. We're not good at that. We're not that good at fractions, but you have fun with it. And if you can't laugh at life, what can you laugh at? Things happen in life. There's bumps in the road, there's hiccups, and you can do one of two things. You can let it defeat you and take over your day and ruin your day, or you can put a funny spin on it and just say, you know what, I'm gonna laugh this off, shrug it off, continue on with my day. And another thing you can do is when you get to work or you get home or whatever, you can tell your friends or your family that funny story that happened on the way to on the way to work and make them laugh too, instead of oh, this horrible thing. I mean, I could be throwing this pity party, and everybody I meet or I talk to, I could be talking about how unfortunate it is that I'm missing arms and legs. No, it's fine. Life has been absolutely amazing. And what if our purpose in life is to have fun and enjoy it? I think a lot of people take life far too seriously, and they forget to just enjoy life and have fun. And it's a lot less stressful way to live life. And I mean, I'm not saying that there's bills that need to be paid. Your career has to be taken care of. Your children, your family, whatever. All those things do need to be taken care of. And I guess another thing I should say is, all the things that I'm going to talk to you today about, these are all things that have worked well for me. And the way I've lived my life is not going to be the perfect answer for you. We all have our own puzzle. We all have our own pieces of that puzzle that we're putting together. You can't take pieces from somebody else's puzzle and fit it into yours. You can look at what the other person's doing and say, okay, I see how that worked for that person, and I see how that worked for that person. So I'm going to take little bits and pieces and apply them to my life and hopefully find the perfect answer for me. So, you know, like I said, my life has been absolutely amazing. You know, growing up wasn't difficult. I grew up fairly normal, if there is such a thing. You know, I played sports with all my friends. I got in trouble for the same things. Sometimes I got in trouble for things that I thought I wouldn't get in trouble for because I thought I blended well into everybody else, or with everybody else. Has anybody ever played the game? Everybody calls it something different, but Nicky Nicky Nine Door, or Knock Knock Ginger, or whatever. I played that with a couple friends one night, and when I got home, Mom asked me, "So what were you up to last night? Or what were you up to tonight?" I said, "Oh, nothing, just hanging out with Jackie and Jody." "Were you playing Nicky Nicky Nine Door at all?" I said, "No, absolutely not, I wasn't." She said, "Well, everybody in the neighborhood has phoned and said that you were, because when I run up to somebody's door and knock on the door and then hop away, it's pretty obvious who in the neighborhood was just playing that game. I don't blend into the general population," which actually earlier, I had to do a quick costume change. I had a pair of dark gray pants and a lighter gray shirt. And as you can see, it's kind of a lighter gray wall and a darker gray carpet. So I blended in perfectly to the background. It's not very often do I get to blend in. So I still had to change my clothes to make sure that I stand out. As I said before, growing up was quite easy. And one of the other reasons that growing up was so easy was my parents' hands-off approach, pun intended, to how they raised me. They knew early on that if they did everything for me, I wasn't going to learn how to be independent. You know, and part of that was made a lot easier with the fact that I was born like this. I've never known what it's like to have arms and legs. I've never known anything different. This has been my normal for 36 years. Wow, that's a long time. This has been my normal. And being born without arms and legs is really no different than being born with arms and legs. You were born with fingers and toes and knees and elbows. When you're a baby, you learn how to grasp things. And then you learn how to crawl, and you learn how to walk, and then you learn how to run, and it was just that natural progression, and now everything is just natural. And it was the same thing for me. And I've always said I have an enormous amount of respect for somebody who has lost a limb or limbs or had an accident later in life and had to relearn all those things. And not only do you have to relearn those things, you have that, you know, that emotional and psychological hurdles to overcome. And some of the most incredible, amazing, inspirational people I have ever met in my life are people who have, you know, had an accident or an unfortunate situation and still not let that get them down. And I have an amazing opportunity where I get to share my story and motivate and inspire people. And I get to meet a lot of people who have had, been in certain situations where, their ability to use their hands, legs, whatever has been taken away from them. And I just have the utmost respect for them. Growing up, I actually used to wear artificial legs up until about 4 years ago. And I walked everywhere on those legs. Even if I was doing something as simple as going down to the corner store to grab a carton of milk, I'd put on the legs, and it would take me, upwards of 15 minutes at times, and a good amount of energy to get those legs on. There were some times where by the time I got those legs on, I was so tired, I just wanted to take the legs right back off, have a shower, and crawl back into bed. But, that was just something that I accepted as part of my norm. Get the legs on, get over it, and get done what I had to do. And the legs they worked well, obviously, because I wore them everywhere I went. But they weren't comfortable, but they weren't overly uncomfortable either. And I kind of liken it to women's shoes. Or a Canadian analogy would be to hockey skates. They're not the most comfortable things in the world, but they look great. I'm going back to the women's shoes. And you wear these shoes all day long. They hurt your feet, but damn, do you look good in them. By the end of the day, you are looking so forward to getting home and taking off those shoes. And it was the same for me. By the end of the day, I could not wait to get home. And instead of kicking off my shoes, I kicked off my legs and relaxed. So, the legs, they worked well. But about 4 years ago, I was down in Florida and bought a longboard just for fun. Because when I was a kid, about 5th or 6th grade, I would whip around on a skateboard. And so I bought a longboard just for fun. And it turned out to be something that was way, way easier to get around than the legs. I could cover a lot more ground. It was a lot cooler, too. The reaction I get from people on the longboard is way different than the reaction I got when I was wearing artificial legs. There was actually some people that I worked with for an airline when I was living in Canada. I was working for an airline called WestJet, and there was people that I worked with for 3 years that had no idea that I was actually missing legs. They just thought I was shorter and walked funny. So yeah, the legs worked great, but the longboard was absolutely awesome. And I mean, the board, I can get anywhere I need to get to. If there is terrain that's not overly board friendly, I could throw the board underneath my arm and hop to wherever I need to get to. Stairs aren't a problem at all. Yeah, the board has worked really, really well for me. As far as arms are concerned, artificial arms really have never been something that have been a good fit for me. I haven't found a set of prosthetic arms that I felt I could maneuver better than just what I have here. And a lot of things, I could do everything with just my arms. And there's some things that, just finite little, skills that require, very, fine motor skills, like maneuvering my phone. And I'm going to actually call on somebody if they don't mind. And I'm going to issue a challenge. But as far as my phone's concerned, one thing I learned very early on is I have great balance. I have dropped very few phones. Surprisingly, I'm able to longboard, send text messages without any problems. I have, every once in a while, you find a pretty good crack in the sidewalk, and that will stop me dead. But I've never actually dropped the phone because I lost the balance on it. But I can swipe in, and I can send text messages. I don't have to use Siri. As you saw in the very first video, I work on a farm. That farm is actually in Saskatchewan. She never gets Saskatchewan right. So I can type, and I could probably type on my iPhone. How is that for product placement? On my phone. Probably just as fast as you guys can. The only thing that I really have any issues with is when I'm looking at pictures or a website. When you guys zoom in to your smartphones, you use your forgive me for not knowing the proper terminology for the said fingers that are used, but I believe it's your thumb and your pointer finger. Yeah, I nailed it. You do that. I have to use my mouth when I zoom in. My boss always gives me grief about that. He's like, oh, so whose picture are you looking at right now? I'm a narcissist. It's one of myself. So, now, to the challenge that I wanted to issue, I want to see if somebody can, without using their fingers and their hands, if they can, I'm going to get my girlfriend to come up front here and sit on the board beside me, and I want to see if somebody can take a picture of us on their phone. Do I have a willing participant, or do I have to start? So, yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. What's your name? Chris. Perfect.
Also from Canada.
Also from Canada. It is such a small country. We all have the same name. I'm from the Calgary area. You're probably from Toronto, and it's shocking that we don't actually know one another. So I'm going to get my girlfriend Allie to come up, and if you can take a picture with us, and well, actually we want to get you in the picture, so we'll sit over here, and you can come over there. So you can use your phone.
Okay.
Because you might want to use your tongue and your mouth or whatever. And
All right.
sorry, but I don't want that all on my phone. So yeah, you can't use your hands or your fingers. You have to take. So I want you to be logged out of your phone. I want you to put the password in.
Oh man.
I'm really yeah. I'm making you work for this.
Oh, okay. It doesn't sense the touch.
Oh, it's not a thumbprint one, is it?
No.
I don't have that feature on my phone, obviously.
It's going to take me a while to log in here. Can I log in?
Yeah, I'll let you cheat and log in with your fingers, but the photo actually has to be taken without fingers.
All right.
All right. Oh!
Get it.
I'm not responsible for cracked screens on there, am I?
They signed waivers.
Oh man, even picking it up. You didn't see that. All right.
Look at the strain.
Wishing you had a longer tongue.
Got it.
Got it. All right, everybody give Chris a hand.
It's blurry, but
Awesome.
I got it.
Let's see the picture here. That's pretty good.
Oh, no, we
There's a lot
gotta do
of-
another one.
No, it's fine. Yeah. She blinked. All right, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate that. So yeah, that's I don't know. Actually, that's the first time I ever tried that one. It was Akshay's idea that we try that one. I'm gonna get another. I'm gonna do another exercise, audience participating exercise, to kind of put you into my proverbial shoes. So I'm gonna get Akshay. Akshay's gonna come down and do this one, and I need another person other than Akshay, and I want you guys to race and try and get into the water bottle without using your hands. Do I have another audience participant to race Akshay on this? Yeah, come on up. What's your name? Okay, Rajat. All right, perfect. Rajat and Akshay are going to race to get into these water bottles.
It's the last time I met you here.
Yeah. It's a friendly race.
So we gotta open it up.
Open the water bottle. You can't use your hands. That's
Forearms?
all.
No.
You can use forearms. You can use your mouth. If you have that much dexterity with your feet, you're more than welcome to use your feet if you want. But you just can't use your hands. So on your mark, get set, go. Oh wow, that's pretty good, and surprisingly little water on the floor. Awesome, and congratulations. Well, Kate, so Brigitte, you won. Congratulations, and you won a free bottle of water, which actually was provided by Google for free anyway. So, all right, give these guys a hand. I'm going to show you guys another video.
Notice all by himself on a T-bar. And interesting, you know, not having any arms and any legs. It's quite fantastic for this little boy to be able to go up a hill and come down by himself.
Right on. Thanks a lot. Right on. Thank you. Thanks.
The gracefulness of a cat to the speed of a mongoose. Little ear. Today we're just moving around some bales with the tractor, so come on in, show you how I work the tractor. lot of the new tractors, it's all hydrostatic transmission, so you don't need feet at all to run these things, which works out well for me. When I was a little kid, I used to go ride on the tractor on the combine with my grandpa for hours. Finally, I got sick of having to have somebody in the tractor with me, so I basically said, you know what, I'm just going to do this by myself. If I can go snowboarding, why not you? If I can go surfing in Brazil, why not you? The possibilities are endless. Enjoy. So I was asked a while ago if I had the perfect job in the world, what would it be? And my honest answer to that question is I'm doing it right now. I get to travel around the world, share my story, and inspire and motivate. And I've had the opportunity to speak at, I'm down here in the States now, speaking at Google, and that's amazing. All across Canada, Australia, Nepal, and Cambodia. And it's so awesome to have the opportunity to see so many places in the world and meet so many incredible people. And I love doing that, but I also love working on the farm. It's something that I grew up doing, and it's just something that it's in your blood. You can't really explain why you love it so much. And there's a lot of people like, how could you possibly stand sitting in a tractor for 12, 14, 18 hours a day? I love it. And actually a lot of my great ideas, or maybe not so great ideas with my presentations, come to me in the tractor. You get a lot of time to reflect, and it's a nice, I guess, juxtaposition of a life. It's hectic, it's life on the road, it's airports and stuff like that, and it's just a nice, calm peacefulness of the farm, and I love it. And the other reason why I love farming is it's not a job that you expect a guy without arms and legs to be doing, and I love that wow factor. I love when I can, tell somebody at an airport when they ask what I do, that I drive large combines and tractors. Really? Or when I'm passing by somebody in one of those machines, and you can see in the picture, it's all, the cab is all glass, it's all window, and it's a very narrow steering column. So when I drive by in the tractor and you pass me and I give you a big wave, you could clearly see the guy in that machine has no arms, no legs, and there's a lot of very perplexed, confused looks as to what they just saw. The other reason why I love being on the farm is it's one of the few jobs that you can do where you can spend so much time with your family. And one of my other passions in my life is my incredible, amazing family that I have. And I wouldn't be in the position that I am today without my family's support and them doing such an amazing job of raising me. So some might argue that they maybe didn't do the greatest job. No, I'm kidding. They did an amazing job. I have an amazing family, amazing community that I grew up in southern Alberta, Nanton, about an hour south of Calgary. As far as I'm concerned, it's the best place in the world to have grown up. Some of you may argue and say that where you grew up is the best place in the world, and I'm sorry, but you're wrong. It's Nanton. I'm telling you. But no, I do get back home quite often to help on the farm, as well as spend time with my nephews and my niece. I have 2 nephews and a niece. That little guy in the picture, Braden, he's a little over 2 now. Loves riding around in the tractor with me. He'd ride around for hours if you let him. And then there's also a set of twins, and they just turned 1 here a long time ago. And I have not been able to get a picture of all 3 of them. And anybody who has kids or nieces or nephews, especially that many in such a short, young age range, it is impossible to get them all settled down for one good picture. One's usually crying, the other one's usually looking the other way, and the other one's usually got a finger up the nose. And on a lot of people find, for me, I find what I do to be fairly normal, I guess. I live a regular life. I just do what I do. And in doing what I'm doing, I've had the opportunity to meet some incredible people. One of those people is my absolutely amazing girlfriend. She's incredibly beautiful, and she's incredibly beautiful outside as well as inside. And we've had an opportunity in the time that we've been together to travel around, meet some amazing people, see some beautiful places. That's one of my favorite pictures of us right there. And not only is it just blessed to have an amazing girlfriend, but she works a lot with me in helping with my presentations. She also helps me a lot in this whole if I can movement, I guess, foundation of getting out there and encouraging people to get out there and live life to the fullest. And so I also like to take this opportunity to brag about how we met. We started dating on Valentine's Day, which is very Hallmark. And part of the reason is just so we remember when our anniversary is going to be. The whole world advertises when our anniversary is coming up, so it's perfect. You'll never forget that. But also I like to brag about our first kiss. It was epic. Now, growing up in the small town of southern Alberta in the prairies, this doesn't happen very often. It was on the beach in Malibu, underneath the moonlight. It was absolutely perfect. So I had to brag about that. So it's my stage. I can talk about whatever I want, right? That brings me to the whole theme of the motto of what I speak about, which is if I can. It's pretty simple. If a guy without arms and legs, myself, if I can longboard, if I can travel the world, if I can work on the farm, if I can snowboard, surf, if I can do all these things, absolutely anybody is capable of anything. A lot of the obstacles that we encounter in our lives are ones that we have made ourselves. Or if it is a legitimate obstacle, we turn that obstacle into something that's maybe this big, into something that's seemingly insurmountable. Now, if I was taller and I had arms, the difference would be much greater, have greater effect. So you're just going to have to, do the extrapolation for me. But but it's true. And there's times where I wake up and I'm not quite feeling it for that day, and just those little tiny things happen to throw your day off. And they're so trivial, seemingly nothing things that happen. But on a day when you're not feeling it, it just gets blown out of proportion. All of a sudden, you're having a crappy day. You just need to stop and slow yourself down and realize, okay, everything's going to be all right. And you can look at things that you've done in your past to apply the whole if I can motto. Look at obstacles and challenges that you've faced and overcame in your lives, and apply those to things that you might encounter moving forward, and say, well, if I was able to land a job at Google, if I was able to bust my butt in university to get that degree that I got, if I was able to run that marathon that I did, whatever, I've got the power, I've got the fuel moving forward to accomplish absolutely anything. If I Can originally started off as an idea for a travel show. A good buddy of mine, JR, he took off traveling through Asia. He started in Thailand, worked his way all the way down through Cambodia, Malaysia, Philippines, all the way down to Australia, New Zealand, all the way back up to Mongolia and China. He was gone for 18 months. And I watched his travel posts like a hawk, and I thought, traveling like that is something I would love to do. And when he got back from his trip, I asked him, I said, do you think I'd be able to travel in that same capacity? He said, absolutely. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to. So we thought, well, let's put it to the test and actually see if I can do that. And we also thought it'd be kind of a neat idea for a travel show. So we headed down to Brazil. And the deal was, while we were in Brazil, anything that had to be done, I had to do on my own. If I had to lug my 35-pound backpack, 15 blocks to the bus station and load that up on the bus myself, then that's what had to be done. And now this talk is going to be recorded, so I have to make sure that I stick with those numbers now. Because, a year from now, it's going to be a 45-pound backpack, and I had to carry that 35 blocks and load it up onto a double-decker bus. But, JR probably looked like the worst friend in the world. And, I'm struggling to get my backpack up on the bus, and random strangers are jumping in, trying to help out. And JR's going, no, leave him alone. He can do it. Meanwhile, I was just standing there holding the video camera, telling these people, he might fall. This is true. But if he does, I got the camera rolling. And, you know, Ali has said the same thing too. And I'm often so oblivious to what goes on around me. I've had surprise parties thrown for me and not even realized, but I digress. But, you know, she has noticed when, you know, I'm, you know, skateboarding along and, you know, I get to a curb and I pick up the board and lift it up, throw it up onto the curb and jump up, or I carry my own board up the stairs or get myself up into a chair at a restaurant. And when people realize that Ali and I are together, and they also don't always assume that we're together. You know, they make the assumption, oh, what a nice sister he has, or what a nice helper he has. Oh, that's an amazing girlfriend that I have. But they'll realize that we're together, and she's letting me do my own thing. She knows that, you know, if she jumps in, if I need help, I'll ask. She doesn't need to jump in and just help me out. I'm good to go. So yeah, same thing. You know, people not helping me out, and people I'm with not helping me out, and they look like bad people. But I would much rather that. And the whole, you know, people often ask me if I need help, and I'll say no, that's okay. And then they feel like they've offended me. I would much rather graciously and politely say, you know what, I'm good, I got it, thank you very much for helping, than be in a situation where I really need some help and nobody seems to care. And you see all those videos, you know, circulating around on Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that, where, you know, somebody's in dire need and nobody wants to help. I actually, very fortunately, have never experienced anything like that. But this next video is some surfing from the the big waves of southern Alberta, as well as some of the stuff that JR and I filmed in Brazil. Heading back to Manaus. I sure hope those boards hold me. I feel like Shakira. I haven't missed out on anything. You know, by far today has been the most beautiful day. Alright, we're just walking into the rainforest right now. It's a bit of a hike. Pretty much just itching to go in the water. It's been decided that it's best that I not go out there, even with the life jacket. Pretty bummed out right now, to say the very least. But you know, that's not to say that can't do it tomorrow. Anything I do, I want to do it to the max. Like I want to do it as best as I possibly can. So moving forward, the whole concept of traveling on my own in this capacity, you know, going backpacking through Brazil or, you know, Australia or Europe, I've been able to do that and more. I've hit 5 continents now. The only 2 continents that I haven't done are Africa and Antarctica. And I plan on crossing those 2 off as quickly as I possibly can. And a lot of those trips I've actually done solo or with, you know, people kind of joining me from time to time. Or if I do travel with somebody, I make sure I take care of all the stuff on my own. As far as the idea for a travel show, that's very much alive, and I can't go into great detail, but we're very close with a network, which unfortunately I cannot name, but we've been filming over the last couple weeks with this travel show. So Ali and I, as well as a few of my good friends, JR being one of those friends who helped kind of build this whole concept of If I Can. This is from a mud run I did on Monday in Tracy, so I guess it would be about an hour east of here, and it was a lot of fun actually. I'd never done a mud run before, and Ali had done one before, but we just had a lot of fun with it. We just tried to do as many of the obstacles as we possibly could, and I was actually not necessarily surprised, but very excited about how many of the obstacles I was able to do without really any assistance. And I figured I'd ham it up with the commando crawl through the mud, which was actually easier than hopping, because when I'd hop in the mud, my leg would just sink far down in the mud. So commando crawl was actually way easier. And when I came off the top there, I decided to do a belly flop into the mud, the alleys, shielding herself. But yeah, we've done a bunch of filming. Actually, one of the amazing things that we did as part of this filming is we hiked 5 miles up to the bridge to nowhere to go bungee jumping, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. Some things that I've learned in life, both from people that I've encountered and mentors and people that I've idolized in my life, and just things I've come to the realization on my own. If you're worried about how you look, you're cheating yourself out of opportunity. That one is a Chris Koch quote. I should put that underneath there. I know I look different. I get stared at every single day. But I'm comfortable in my own skin. I don't care that people stare. I don't care that people ask questions. I would be more than happy. I am more than happy to answer as many questions as people have. Take the time to answer a couple questions and give them the right answer then for them to make the incorrect assumption. Make the incorrect assumption that, Allie is my helper and not my girlfriend. Or make the incorrect assumption that, life's been really difficult and life's pretty miserable for a guy without arms and legs. No, life's great. And, I have a lot of fun with it. And staring is a lot of fun too. And a lot of people that I hang around with, friends and family, they get actually way more aggravated with the staring than I do. I like to have fun with it. And in North America especially, different cultures they approach staring differently. North Americans try to be very discreet. So if I'm longboarding down the sidewalk and somebody's walking towards me, they'll be looking forward. This is them walking. And they'll be looking forward, but I can see them look out of the corner of their eye as I get a little bit closer, and they're looking. And I know when I see that once we cross paths, and I turn around, I'm gonna catch them doing a double take, and then they do this one. Really? You were staring up there at nothing? No, I caught you. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And kids are the best. They have no filters. And they just ask what's on their mind, and they come up and they'll stand right in front of you and just stare. And one of my favorite things to do when I worked at the airport in Calgary is the check-in kiosks. I would be standing out front helping people with those sometimes, and a kid would walk by with their family, and they'd pull in mom or dad's sleeve. And, Mom, Dad, look at that guy. He's got no arms and legs. And before they would turn around, I would hide behind one of the check-in kiosks. And there'd be nobody there. They'd be thinking, my kid is losing his mind. I would eventually go and make myself visible and let him in on the joke. But no, it's fun to have. It's fun to have fun with that one. But and once again, if you can't laugh at life, what can you laugh at? This picture here. Actually, a while ago, had an amazing photographer in to do a talk here at Google. His name's Ben Wong, or Von Wong. If any of you had a chance to come and see him or check out the talks at Google and Von Wong, he's an amazing photographer and a good friend, a mutual good friend of ours. And now his girlfriend, Anna Tenney, she took a lot of these pictures that you're going to see up here. This picture was in a little village in Cambodia this past winter, in just behind Angkor Wat. And we went to this little village, and when we first got there, kids didn't know what to think about me. They're pretty apprehensive and keeping their distance. And then I'd let them play on the longboard for a little bit, and then I got in there and I played on the longboard with them. And then I'm going to say it wasn't much more than 3 or 4 minutes after we got there that this photo was taken. When I walk around, wander around, stroll around, whatever, and I'm very self-conscious about how I look and the fact that I have no arms and no legs, people are going to pick up on that insecurity. And they're going to be insecure about it too. If I just go through life not worrying about it, which I don't, and treat myself and deliver myself as just like any other person, they're going to pick up on that. And so when I first got there, these kids are very nervous about me, and 5 minutes later, I guarantee you, they had no clue that they're playing with this guy without arms and legs on the skateboard. And it's so amazingly quick how fast it happens, how fast the transition happens from, I'm not too sure about this guy, to, this guy's awesome. I might be pumping my own tire on that one, but. And like the good sense of humor has done very, very well for me in that. You know, I joke around and tell people that I have a very disarming personality. You know, yeah, you have fun with it. You get out of life what you put into it. These photos again taken by the amazing Anna Tenney. These were in Nepal. I had an opportunity to speak with some refugees that were in Nepal, and surprisingly, hardly any of them, if any of them, had ever been on a longboard before. And surprisingly and thankfully, none of them broke any limbs doing that. I have low center of gravity on my side, so it's easy for me to stay on the longboard. When you're 6'2", not so much. You get out of life what you put into it. You put out positivity, you will get positivity. You put out negativity, you will get negativity. And the best way I can really bring this point home is my trip to Europe that I took about it was about 3 years ago now. It was 3 months in Europe. It was the first time I'd ever done a trip completely solo and on my longboard for that extended period of time, and I had no itinerary. It was 3 months. Beyond that, I was just winging it. And my mom thought it was a horrible idea. She figured for sure something bad was going to happen. I told her, everything's going to be fine, nothing's going to happen. And then when I had 8 hours on the plane to think about this adventure I was about to embark on, I got to thinking, you know, Mom might be right. This could go horribly wrong. And I thought, okay, well, you know, maybe it does, but at least I'm putting myself out there and trying. But I was playing through all the different scenarios as to what might happen, and the thing that played over and over again in my mind as to the most likely was people would try and rob me. And I thought I would be the ideal person to mug or to rob. I mean, I'm unarmed. I tell that one, and the people, I don't know if people are not too sure if they're supposed to laugh, or if they don't get it, but eventually they get it, and oh, okay, that's pretty clever. And you know, if you do steal my money, I mean, I got no legs, so it's a pretty easy getaway. But the absolute opposite happened when I was over in Europe. People were literally tracking me down and chasing me down in the streets, trying to give me money. I'd be longboarding from Buckingham Palace to Trafalgar Square, or from the Louvre to the Eiffel Tower. And people would be chasing me down, here, can I give you this money? I'm like, no, it's okay. I don't need the money. I'm traveling. I'm good, which was a huge lie. I was traveling. I really needed that money. But, you know, okay, I'm not going to take the money. After about the third insistence that I take this money, I'd say, okay, fine, thank you very much. You're far too kind. You didn't have to. All those things I was able to say in about 3 or 4 different languages. And in my 3 months traveling around Europe, I was given easily over $400. And I firmly believe that the reason why I was given money instead of being robbed was I'm out there and I'm just having fun, living life. I smile on my face. I say hi to everybody. I acknowledge everybody that passes by, laughing, having fun. And they pick up on that. They're not going to try and harm somebody that's got lots of confidence and is happy and comfortable in their own skin. And, you know, they want to, if anything, they're trying to reward, you know, that positivity. Like, you know what, you just put a smile on my face. I want to give you something back. Sometimes it's a hug that they give me back. Sometimes it's a kiss. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's some odd things. But anyways, but it's amazing. It is so incredibly amazing. And I'm just going to tell one quick funny story. When I was in Europe, Paris, got into Paris. I took the bus from London to Paris. And yes, I know the English Channel's in the way, but I took the ferry from Dover to Calais. Anyways, when we got into Paris, it was very late at night. I didn't have any cash, any euro on me. All I had was British pounds, and I couldn't find a cash machine at the bus depot. So I got into a taxi and was trying to, convey to the taxi driver that I didn't have any cash. Could I pay with my Visa? He said, no Visa. And he took me to my hostel and said, don't worry, it's free, gratuit. Well, that was awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I got to my hostel, and the hostel also wouldn't accept my Visa. They wanted cash. And they said, you know what, we'll let you stay here tonight and just get cash in the morning. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. You're in downtown Paris. We're not going to expect you to go around and try and find cash. I'd also hadn't had any food for quite a while, and I was thirsty. So I was sick and tired of not having cash. So I decided I'm going to go out and find a cash machine. So 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm longboarding around Paris, trying to find a cash machine. I finally find one, but it was too high. I couldn't reach it. And I wasn't at downtown Paris, 1 o'clock in the morning. I was kind of surveying the scene, and people are walking by, but I just couldn't bring myself to trust that if I pull over a random stranger and say, okay, sir or ma'am, I'm going to give you my Visa, and I'm going to tell you my PIN number, and trust that you're not going to steal all of my money. Couldn't bring myself to do that. But I noticed just down the couple doors down, there was a bistro. It was closed, but they had all the patio, or the chairs and tables outside. So I went over, and I grabbed the chair, and I'm carrying it like this. And there's a person inside of the restaurant cleaning up after they'd closed. And the backrest of the chair was blocking me, so all he could see was this chair floating along. And so he came running outside trying to figure out why his chairs were floating away. And by this time, I'd had the chair set up at the cash machine, pulling out my money. But there's a lot of really good stories that I could tell. I could go on and on and on with stories like that. But it's been an amazing ride and a lot of fun. And these bad things, fortunately, have not happened to me because of, in my opinion, and I feel very strongly about this, the positive energy you put out comes back to you. In a lot of times, it comes back to you tenfold. The core of man's spirit comes from new experiences. And I also say that, be more afraid of regret than failure. Now, experiences can mean a lot of things for a lot of different people. And I've taken this from the movie/book Into the Wild. It wasn't the happiest of endings, but the premise of what he was doing I really agree with. But just getting out there and living life as much as he possibly could, crossing off as many items off his bucket list as he possibly could. For me, traveling is the experience that I love. Adventure, the whole adrenaline. That's something that really matters most to me. Allie, she's not a big adrenaline junkie. So, the other day, as part of this pilot that we're filming, we hiked up to the bridge to nowhere. It was a 5-mile hike up and a 5-mile hike back. And I had just got new artificial legs because I wanted to get these legs going. Because while I was in Nepal, I'm kind of mixing two stories here into one. When I was in Nepal this winter, we went up to Namche Bazaar, which is a quarter of the way up to Mount Everest. And I thought, if I got a set of legs going again, I'd be able to do this trek the whole way, all the way up to Mount Everest. And so the plan is, so I've got these legs going now, and the plan is to trek all the way to Mount Everest Base Camp as part of a fundraiser. And I'm hoping to do that. If we can't have it ready to go for kind of the second half of May, we'll be looking at doing this in the end of August. And so we were, in filming this pilot, we had these legs going, and it was kind of like the second or third time that I had worn legs and walked in like 4 years, maybe bit off a little more than I could chew. But I walked the first mile or so, and then the legs weren't working. So we had to kind of bail on the legs, and between my buddies JR, Muldoon, and Stevie, they threw me on their backs and helped me up to the bridge, And, you know, I was actually feeling incredibly defeated. Because I want things to go perfectly. And I'm not gonna lie, I was PO'd. And I was, you know, what's the point? What a waste of time. These legs are, like, I had other words that I was using. And Ali was very, very good to just, you know, just calm me down and be like, hey, look at your own motto. And sometimes you lose sight of what you're doing. And you just get too caught up in the moment. And I took it as failure. And Ali pointed out, like, first of all, how the legs were going the first time and how they're going right now, you're actually doing way better. You just walked almost a mile. So don't be too hard on yourself. And this is, you know, part of a process. You know, I'm going back to the drawing board with these legs, and we'll get it figured out. And we are going to get to the, you know, Everest Base Camp. There's no doubt in my mind that we are going to get to Everest Base Camp. I will not stop until I do it. There's going to be some bumps in the road, but this back to experience. You know, experience means something different for everyone. An event that happens, everyone experiences it differently. As far as the bungee jumping was concerned, you know, I experienced the potential of going bungee jumping much differently than Ali did. Ali, she's not an adrenaline person, but she got up there. She did the hike. I didn't even do the hike. You know, my buddy said to piggyback me up there. She did the hike in and out, but she got herself to a point where she realized, you know what, I don't need to do this bungee jump. I'm okay with not jumping off a perfectly good bridge. Can't say as I blame her. And she was at peace for that. That experience was different for her. And, you know, when I'm talking about the core of man's spirit being, the core of man's spirit comes from new experiences. Travel and adventure, whatever, is what that means for me. That's how I get my satisfaction. For you, it might be painting or music or trying out new restaurants or cooking or whatever. The point of this is don't get complacent in life. You know, keep enriching your lives with as many different and new experiences as you possibly can. We get in our comfort zone and we forget to challenge ourselves and test ourselves. And we forget to remind ourselves just how resilient and how incredibly capable we are of such great things. And you know, failure is only failure if you treat it as that. You know, I'm way more afraid of regret than I am of failure. I do not want to, you know, look at my life and look back and say, I wish I would have done this, I wish I would have done that. And you know, I was ready to just quit on the legs altogether. And if I would have done that, I would have been regretting that for the rest of my life. And luckily I have amazing people around me to help keep that in check. And we all have amazing people around us to help keep us in check. And we got to remember to make sure we feed off those resources. That, by the way, another picture by Anna, that's Mount Everest, and that's as close as we got to Everest here in February. I'm hoping to have, no, I'm not hoping. I will have another picture where we're right at the base of that great big mountain. We will have Stevie, Ali, Muldoon, JR, myself, and anybody else that wants to join. So if anybody wants to come to Nepal with us and raise some money. So the fundraiser I want to do is for the Child Amputee Program in Canada, an organization that I've benefited from a great deal. They help child amputees throughout the country with funding for limbs, post-secondary education, and it's also just an amazing support group. The other half of the money that I raise, I want to contribute to the people of Nepal, specifically people with disabilities in Nepal. When I was over there, I was seeing a lot of instances where they're not getting the same level of assistance, and in some cases not even close to the same level of assistance as we enjoy in North America as Canadians and Americans. So that is my goal, and I will achieve it. This next video is one that Vaughn Wong did with Anna and I in our trip in Cambodia, and I figured I'd just share that with you before I wrap up.
It's always nice to share a travel experience with someone else, but Chris, more than anyone else, you never know what to expect. You never know how people are going to treat him. I like it because I get completely ignored. Everyone's looking at Chris, so I can just watch the interaction, and I really love that.
When I was young, I would actually always look at maps thinking, oh, I'd love to go there, I'd love to go there. I guess I never really did a whole lot about it. I found excuses to not do it, whether it be, I have work I got to worry about, money I got to worry about. And I was just like, screw it, went online, booked the ticket, and said to myself, okay, you got 4 months to make this trip happen.
It would be ideal to generate some income while travelling, but I feel so lucky that I can do what I love, which is travel and photography. At the same time, I'm helping Chris make a difference. You know, he is really impacting a lot of people's lives, and people realise that if he can, they can.
What drives me is the opportunity to meet a lot of people, as well as get to share my story and hopefully encourage others to live life a little more full. You know, get out and travel, or get out and do something that I've always dreamt of doing, but have always made excuses for themselves. I was, one of those people. I wanted to go traveling, but I just kind of figured, it's going to be tough without arms and legs. And I was like, you know what? No, I just figure that out and just go out and do it. If somebody wants to travel bad enough, they can make it happen, and that's goes with anything in life. If you want to do something bad enough, if you want it bad enough, you will find a way to do it. You will go above and beyond what you need to do to make it happen. And the ability for human beings to do whatever they want is absolutely there. They just need to realize that and do it. I read somewhere that dreams never die. People just give up on them too quickly. People say that you only live once. I tend to disagree with that one. I think you only die once. When you woke up on the morning of January 1st of 2015, you were given 365 opportunities to live life to the absolute most, to the absolute maximum. And I encourage everybody to do just that. Each day is a gift. Treat it as that and make the most of it. If today is not going so great, you have the rest of today to make up for it. And just enjoy life. It's a precious gift, and we're all here to have fun and enjoy it. So, if I can do all these things, you guys are capable of absolutely anything. I do the social media. If I can, www.ifican.ca is my website. There's links to my Twitter and my Instagram. I don't do Snapchat because Snapchat is selfies, and with my phone, I have to hold my phone up and press the button with my tongue. So all my selfies just end up me taking a picture of the bridge of my nose. Check me out at Google. Cross-eyed. And then I also have Facebook, and on all these social medias, sites, pages, whatever you call them. Every Monday I try to do a motivational Monday, something that I'm up to or something that somebody else that I know of or have seen that is doing some incredible stuff to start off the week on a high note. And then on Fridays I try to do a Friday funny, just something to give people a good laugh to finish off the week and start off the weekend. I've got all kinds of corny ones. One, I want to do a meme of me in front of like a palm reader with a quotation like, I'm a little skeptical. That's kind of a lot of that very similar vein. But guys, I want to thank you so very much. And the Facebook, is Chris Koch, if I can. Chris Koch is just my personal one. That's all family and friends. Chris Koch, if I can, is I update everything that I'm up to. But I want to thank you guys so very much. I want to thank Google. I want to thank Akshay for making this all possible and putting this all together. And I want to thank everybody here in the audience as well as streaming from the desks for joining. Please keep in contact. I love to hear some of the amazing things that you guys are up to. So thank you again. And if I can, anybody can.
Thanks, Chris.
You said you worked for an airline. Have you ever tried flying an airplane?
I have never tried flying an airplane, and it's something that I would really love to try out. I love aviation. I'm a plane geek. I used to work at a air museum in my hometown of Nanton, Lancaster Museum. And working for the airline, one of the big reasons that I got in with an airline is because of my love for planes. So it's something that I want to look into. I got a good buddy. He's missing his hand, and he flies for Air Canada Jazz. And he's one of those people that I look up to and admire. And he's got one hand and he's flying commercially. I don't know if the passengers would like to know that, but.
Hi, when you travel cross country, there hasn't been ever any need for fingerprinting or?
Fingerprint, yeah. Like your Nexus pass?
Like visa or like whenever you enter countries generally can print you.
Yeah, no, I haven't had any issues with needing to do fingerprinting. When I had a pass so I could go through security, or bypass security, sorry, when I worked at the airline, I did the retina scan. And, but yeah, as far as fingerprinting, I haven't had to do that. And I always find it funny that it'd be awesome if I was like robbed a bank or something and they're desperate for fingerprints. Like, it appears that the perpetrator robbed the bank with his elbows.
Hi, Chris. I'm wondering what you do. I love your attitude towards life and how you exude positivity. How do you do that in kind of when you're, not at your best? I know you mentioned you had friends that kind of helped carry you, and like mentally, like do you do anything kind of daily to kind of keep yourself like going, or anything like that?
Yeah, a practice that Ali and I have done every morning is just checking in with one another and reminding one another of how lucky we are to have one another, and how lucky we are to have the opportunities that we have. And before then it was, just looking at all the incredible opportunities that I have and how much I love people, how much I love my family, my nieces, my nephews. And when I'm in that funk, I kick myself out of that as quickly as I can, because, there's the line from the Shawshank Redemption, get busy living or get busy dying. And there's so many things out there that I would regret so much for not experiencing if I just sat at home and felt sorry for myself and threw that pity party. So I'm able to kick myself out of that as quickly as I can, whether it be just getting out and going for a longboard, getting some fresh air, spending time with my girlfriend, spending time with my nephews and my niece, family, people that make me laugh. Even something as simple as throwing in a movie, a good Jim Carrey movie. That'll turn a person's day around. Put in Yes Man. There you go.
You've shown us surfing, and you've done all kinds of courses and hiking and everything. Talked about bungee jumping. What's next for you?
What's next for me? The sky's the limit. Anything's possible. There's all those cliches. I'm pretty much game for anything. Yes, skydiving is something that I would love to do. I'd love to do a big long kayak. Mount Everest base camp is something that is very much on the list. And getting these legs up and running, Ali and I are planning on doing a lot of just little treks and just build it up bigger and bigger. So we're ready for when the time comes to do base camp.
Okay. I've actually been a long-term skydiver, and I broke my neck skydiving and came back from that. And I'm coming back from ankle injuries now, and I kayak open ocean. So it's entirely possible. You're welcome to join me in either one. The Golden Rangers at Fort Knox, I think it is, are going to take me skydiving again.
I am all ears.
Okay.
Absolutely all ears.
Your girlfriend, it says, what are your experiences in dealing with others as they interact with Chris, both good and the bad?
I guess he kind of touched on it. It's interesting to watch sort of people's interpretation of our relationship and their reaction to my kind of standing aside. Like, I'll get a lot of kind of looks of like, I can't believe you would just let him struggle. But I know that if I step in, there's no need for me to step in for that. So it's just an interesting thing to watch. But I think when we first started dating too, I had some interesting reactions of people when they found out that we were dating. I had people actually start crying and just, that's so amazing. I was like, I know, I'm so lucky.
Because they had dated me. Oh. You sure?
No, I mean, it's been really interesting. It's a very, very different perspective. Kind of Anna even talked about it, sort of being able to kind of sit back and just watch. It's been really neat.
So how was it in middle school and high school? I mean, is there any advice? Because there's kids that try to stand out, be different, and some that they just plain are different.
Yeah.
And they get bullied and teased in the younger years, in elementary and middle school especially. So how was that experience for you growing up, probably a small town, but, you know, and what advice would you give for those kids that do struggle?
Yeah, you're right. I did have the luxury of growing up in a small town where everybody knew me. Everybody was familiar with my situation. But I mean, I was always, like I said in that video, there's a lot of times where I didn't even realize I was missing arms and legs. I've always been comfortable in my own skin. I was never treated like a kid without arms and legs, so I never felt as such. And it's all about confidence, and that's a really tough thing to learn. And especially, you know, middle school and and into high school. I honestly think it's getting tougher and tougher as time passes for kids in that age bracket, you know, growing up. I mean, there's online bullying and everything is so instant. You know, you do one thing and it is magnified instantly. And also society too. Like, you know, there is, not to make fun of specific shows, but there are shows out there where they deliberately have people in auditions that are not good performers, parade them in front of everybody just for the purpose of, you know, ridiculing them and putting them down. It's like, okay, no wonder people are so happy to bully and write stuff, you know, online about, you know, so-and-so. You know, my advice, I guess it's really tough because I was never really bullied. You know, for bullies, stop. It's not cool. You know, you are hurting people a lot more than you think. You know, it might come across as just fun razzing, but you know, some of that stuff cuts really deep. And you catch a person on, you know, that wrong day. You know, you were saying for me, if I'm having a bad day, you know, and this happened a while ago, I was having kind of a, you know, bad day. I went out to the promenade in Santa Monica and you know, I was, you know, getting the energy of people and there was a couple kids passed by and they jumped back and they're like, oh, look at that freak. And I thought, really? Today? I'm really not having a good day and you had to do this today? Normally, I wouldn't even notice that. But that particular day, I was not feeling it and, you know, it cut a little bit deeper. Actually, there's a lot of times where that stuff might even happen, and it's, you know, Allie might notice it, but I'm completely oblivious because I'm too busy looking at all the positive things that are out there. So I guess my advice to people who are getting bullied: don't let it happen. Tell somebody. Do not just allow yourself to suffer alone, and within yourself, celebrate your positives, celebrate your strengths, and don't worry about your perceived weaknesses, because a lot of times your perceived weaknesses are ones that are seeing within yourself, and you're that what you're feeling you're putting out there, and people are picking up on that. You know, if you're out there, you're having fun and enjoying life, people aren't seeing a guy with arms and legs. They're just seeing a guy that's out there enjoying life. They're not seeing a person with big ears or a big nose or overweight or whatever. They're just seeing a person that's out there with a big smile, and that smile is incredibly contagious. That's a very long answer.
It says, other than not watching the Toronto Maple Leafs play. That was the end of that.
I'm a Calgary Flames fan, and I was making fun of Maple Leafs fans at a presentation I was doing just outside of Toronto, saying, you know, because they couldn't, it was the way the place was set up. It was just all chairs sitting on the floor, so the people at the back couldn't see me because I'm not very tall, and I told them, I'm not the tallest presenter you've ever had. I might not even be the best presenter you've ever had, but in a room full of Leafs fans, you're used to being let down. And then 2 days later, the Leafs played the Flames, and the Leafs won, so I was eating my words. So. I don't make those jokes anymore.
Yeah. And then there are a couple of technology-related questions. One is, what, if any, Google products, YouTube, Gmail, Google Maps, do you use, and can you tell us about your experience using them?
I use Google Maps all the time. I do have Gmail. I completely forgot. I was gonna, at the very beginning of my presentation, say, sorry, I just have to check my Hotmail really quickly. But I forgot to do that. So yeah, I use a lot of the Google Maps. The translator, I love Google Translate. That has come in very, very handy on numerous occasions. So yeah. I would say, other than Maps, Translate. Good job on Translate. Anybody here work on that? Wow. Well, thank you.
Okay. And last question, Chris, what are some of the toughest obstacles you face in your day-to-day life? Can technology help to alleviate some of them?
Such simple little things. Ironing my shirt. I once bit my lip ironing my shirt, so obviously I was doing it wrong. When I'm staying in hotels, especially if I'm there on my own, I don't know why. Well, I think it's because when the cleaners are in before and they're washing out the shower, they turn the shower head off, point it off to the side so the shower's not going right on them, and then they forget to tip it back. So when I get in and that shower head's pointed against the wall, so I have to shower underneath the faucet or something like that. So yeah, just tiny little things. And I've used, broom handles and my skateboard, stood up on the side of the tub and, held my skateboard and tipped the shower head to, where there's a will, there's a way. You'll figure out a way. I've used an ironing board to move the shower head, but it's way easier to just ask Allie, hey, do you mind moving the shower head? Or when I was traveling with Anna in Asia, I couldn't even turn the showers on because all the taps were up so high. So I would hide in behind the door, and she would come in with her eyes closed and turn the shower on, and then run back out and hopefully not hit the wall and find the doorway, and then shower, and then when I was done, hollered, she'd do that. So yeah, good friends also help out.
So thank you so much, Chris, for coming.
Thanks again.